Holis guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Samantha and today I'm doing a very special video to me because oh my god, this video is so overdue because this is something that I had to change my whole entire lifestyle for, and something that really impacted my life last year, and who knows how much further before I noticed the different things that were going on with me and my body before it was like unavoidably like in my face. I have to address this type of stuff. Today's video, I hope that it can just help at least one person. Everybody around me, you guys, I will be telling them about these things, and I feel like sometimes when it's somebody that you have in your personal life, a veces como que no los pelamos, like we don't really like pay attention to them and kind of like be like, oh, okay, you know, maybe not. That's why I think it's really important for me to talk about it on here and hopefully help one of you. If this video could help at least one person. I know when I was going through this, I felt very isolated and alone, and also like I tend to isolate myself when I'm going through something difficult, and so yeah, I think that just like added on to it. But also just like a background, so last year it was between ages of 28 and 29 when I started noticing things. I'm going to be talking about my own hormonal imbalances and potential thyroid issue, potential PCOS, and I'm saying these as potentials because I haven't been necessarily diagnosed, right? But I did figure out what were some things that were kind of combining that were negatively impacting my health, and I want to talk about it. And there is going to be some TMI information on here because I feel like health is already kind of TMI for a lot of us, but I feel like this is more important than it is TMI because I feel like shit, we all do that, you know what I mean? Or we all have, you know, bodily functions, and because of the way that society is, and because like all we really care about is the external, sometimes we don't notice when things are kind of like shifting and they're different. So let me just get started. I'm gonna start off with like how I was feeling and what kind of symptoms I had leading up to making my lifestyle changes. I did lose about 15 pounds in 3 months when I did make the necessary lifestyle changes very strictly. And then now I am a little bit more on the moderation, but still living within the same lifestyle. However, I do think I would be doing even better were I really following it to the T like I have in the past. But let me just describe my symptoms and then we will talk about it. So one of the first and main things that I noticed was that I started getting frequent migraines. And of course, you WebMD stuff, and as soon as you WebMD something, frequent migraines, you're like, oh shit, like brain tumor, brain, you know what I mean? So yeah, I really don't suggest that. I really suggest going to the doctor as soon as you feel like something's off, because that will give you a whole other influx of health issues in itself, because it could cause anxiety, and anxiety causes even more health issues and more stress on your body. I started getting migraines frequently. For sure started gaining weight without having changed my eating habits. So before that, I was powerlifting and I was very active for all of my 20s. So we're talking about end of 28 into 29, and coming from that background, I have counted my macros, I have been very active, and so I kind of know like when my weight fluctuates or like what I can do to kind of reduce it. And I started trying to get back into consistency at the gym and eating the way that I have ate before that worked for me, which is counting my macros, which those are macronutrients, and that's basically calculating your protein, fat, and carbs that are gonna be at a deficit for you to lose weight. So I started doing that. Something that I had was like body aches and pain in like my joints and stuff in ways that I hadn't experienced before. And coming from like a person who's had like a very active lifestyle, it was very strange to me. So anyway, I was going to the gym for about a month and a half consistently. Because of the discomfort that I felt, I had to change the way that I was like working out and stuff like that. But I just took it to like, oh, you know, I've been sedentary for like a year, and so that just makes sense that my joints and my body has to get used to it. Plus I had put a lot of strain on them by lifting weights super heavy, so I was just like thinking it more in that way. But yeah, so essentially for about a month and a half, I was at a caloric deficit. I was going to the gym consistently, and I still felt like crap. I still would wake up in the middle of the night randomly, and I would still in the morning have a really hard time getting out of bed. And it was like if I was living like in slow motion, like my energy levels were so low, and I craved food so bad when I was in my deficit, which is something that I've been used to doing here and there. So it was just like stronger cravings, and most of my weight that I had gained was in my midsection. And also I started noticing that my face was getting kind of round, especially around this bottom area. And you guys could go back videos and stuff and kind of tell the difference. I'm gonna put photos in here as well. And so it came to the point where like I couldn't even recognize myself anymore, because I was just like, why did my appearance change so much when I'm not really doing anything like too different, you know what I mean? Another thing that changed was my libido. It kind of almost like disappeared, and you know, being like in my 20s and stuff, like I had a pretty healthy libido. If you guys don't know what that is, it's, you know, drive urges and all that kind of stuff. They disappeared. Like I don't know, over time they just did, and it was kind of a sensitive and touchy topic for me. But now I'm open to talking about it because I feel like it's very common and a lot of women don't talk about it. I realized that my weight gain was inflammation somewhere further down the line. I had the low energy, and because of the inflammation, because of the low libido, because of the migraines, because of everything, I did feel very depressed. I was very sad and down on myself, which also contributed to my self-esteem going down, which I prided myself in working on my self-esteem through my 20s and feeling very confident at some point. And for it to go down from, I feel like people talk about a glow up, but they don't talk about a glow down, or at least, you know, like mentally, a glow down mentally. So I was going through my glow down mentally and struggling with the migraines, anxiety. I was frustrated. At one point, I even lost a job because I had a migraine at work and I didn't want to make it a big deal. It was like towards the end of the shift, y quedé mal because I shipped out something. It was a new job and I shipped out something in bad condition, or almost shipped out something in bad condition, and they decided, like, you know, that was very careless of you to do, and that just kind of isn't what our impression of you is. And for me, it was like, all right, yeah, it was the wrong impression. And like I explained, like I was having a really bad migraine. Little do they know, like I was having a really bad migraine. I got home, I had like a bad bowel movement, and then the migraine went away, and I was like, wait, like what does this have to do? Why is this connected to down here? You know what I mean? Like I was just like, like why is my migraine connected to my bowel movement, right? Which is TMI, you guys, I'm sorry, but it is what it is, you know, like this is what it is. I started like going on YouTube and stuff, and that's when I ran into the knowledge that gluten could cause, you know, digestive issues, and that could impact your migraines. So I started looking into going gluten-free. Of course, at first I was just so sad about it, and I was so down on myself because if I could have gotten like a carb queen tattoo on myself, I probably would have, because I love carbs, and a lot of carbs, specifically bread and pasta, have gluten in them. So gluten is a protein that makes bread and pasta and stuff like that, that spongy consistency. And then it's also in a lot of sauces. So you guys could look that up as well. I just was like, all right, I gotta go gluten-free. But before I go gluten-free, like I'm gonna just wild out. And so of course I wild out. Of course I felt worse about myself, and gained more weight in that process. And then I finally cut it off. And I would say about like 80% of my symptoms went away, like within like 2 weeks, and I was like, holy shit, like this is legit. Like I really shouldn't eat gluten, right? And before I would hear people be like, gluten free, like ay que fresas, you know, like you're doing too much, like gluten free. But no, like had I the choice, I would be eating the gluten, you guys. Had I the choice, I would be like up in there, like, you know what I mean? Like motorboating up 2 slices of bread or 2 loaves of bread, you know? But I can't, you know? I can't. Physically, I cannot, right? So anyways, after the gluten helped me out, I ended up getting another job, and with this job, I did have health care, and so I was like, okay, but at this point, since most of my symptoms were gone, I didn't want the news of being immunocompromised if my gluten sensitivity is due to celiac disease. And so for a long time, I just battled with health anxiety and going to the doctor and stuff like that. And so I finally mustered up the courage, and I actually went to Mexico. Somehow I got in contact with an integrative medicine doctor, which an integrative medicine doctor is a doctor that combines holistic medicine with Western medicine. Integrative medicine is not cheap here. And over there it's a lot more affordable. And so I managed to find her in Culiacan because of my dad's sister, my aunt. I'm so grateful that I did. She uses like a holistic CT scan machine initially, and then she will tell you, go get these lab things done and then send me the results. But just off rip, she was like, you have insulin resistance and you have fatty liver. And so I thought like, you know, liver problems were only for people that had like alcohol problems and stuff like that. But no, like you can get a fatty liver from consumption of like processed foods and sugars and just things like that, where your liver just starts having a hard time breaking down fat. And that made so much sense because of all the times that I tried to lose weight and I couldn't. It was like, wow, this is all making sense. And she also said the insulin resistance, which also makes sense. So she's like, you stopped eating gluten, that's good. However, like I'm gonna put you on an anti-inflammatory diet. Boom, boom, boom. Anti-inflammatory diet is the game changer for somebody who's having a hard time losing weight and potentially has hormonal imbalance, fatty liver, insulin resistance. Like it's almost like a bunch of stuff just starts going awry in your body, and you have to do like a whole system reset. And the anti-inflammatory, you can look it up as well, right? Off the top of my head, it's eliminating processed food, eliminating sugar, eliminating red meats, eliminating dairy, and eliminating gluten, of course, which I had already done. And that's just off the top of my head. And on top of that, it's integrating more vegetables, more fruits, and just eating kind of like off of the earth type of vibes. I do have a vlog where I talked about it a little bit a couple uploads ago if you guys are interested. I totally forgot to mention, I also had like high levels of cortisol, and that is the stress hormone, and that is what will make you gain weight as well as other things, hair loss, just all kinds of stuff, right? She also gave me some multivitamins that I needed to take. I feel like now the way that I eat, if I don't eat within my window, my body it goes under stress in a weird way. So I gotta make sure that I'm eating around the times that I have to eat. Breakfast is very, very important. So the breakfast should have fiber, it should have protein, and it should have healthy fats, which is something that is like, oh my God, in, you know, Western society, we're so used to breakfast being waffles, French toast, bread, croissant, muffin. It all sounds delicious, right? But first thing in the morning, if you're minding your blood sugar levels, it's gonna spike that shit, because the bread and the sugars and all that stuff, it just turns into more sugar. That was a game changer. Taking multivitamins was a game changer. The ones that que me recetó la doctora, vitamin D3, because once I came over here, I did go to my regular doctor. I did my physical and my blood work, and she said I was fine. I sent him to the integrative medicine doctor, and I looked at him myself, and I was like, how am I okay if I'm vitamin D deficient and I see it on the chart, you know? But whatever, you guys, don't be discouraged by what the doctor might tell you. When you feel like something's off, something might be off, and get more opinions, because Had I just been like, okay, to my regular doctor, who I went and almost like cried to about like, hey, like I can't even keep up with work because of my energy levels, because of the gluten, because of this, because it could be that. And she was just like, well, let's just see how the blood work comes back. And once the blood work came back, she was like, everything looks fine. And it's like, everything wasn't fine. And if I would have kept living the way that I was living, then I wouldn't have bettered my quality of life. She did have me take vitamin D3, so I'm taking vitamin D3, taking biotin because I did experience some hair loss because of the vitamin D deficiency and the cortisol and potential, you know, hormonal imbalance. And then I am taking magnesium, I'm taking fish oil, I'm taking B12, and I'm taking, that's it, right? Everything is about balance, and I think that's something so important that people need to see, because everyone can make their own decisions as far as how they want to eat and what kind of diets or things they want to follow. However, for some of us, being at a caloric deficit is not the answer, like just strictly being at a caloric deficit. Because when I was at a caloric deficit, I swear to you that I gained weight at the time because my body had so much other things going on. And so like I can imagine now, like somebody who's barely starting their health or weight loss journey and not really knowing how it works and doing the caloric deficit when they have other stuff going on and not knowing about it, right? And then being so discouraged because once they're doing the things that seem to work for like everybody else mainstream and it doesn't work for them, like that shit's so frustrating, and they wouldn't know any better, right? Because you would just be discouraged and just kind of give up. But I do hold a lot of love and affection for the Sam that was struggling last year with my weight and with my moods and my everything, my symptoms, because she was just afraid and she was just sad and she was just so deserving of answers. And I hope that if you're at home and you're feeling like that, that you understand that you have to be kind to your body. And I also incorporated low impact exercise, which was I would just hot girl walk every day. I would walk for 30 minutes. I like to do the walks outside because I love being outside, and connecting with nature and stuff helps your mental health. And so over time, I really had to focus and place all my attention, most of my attention, into my health and prioritizing myself. All this to say, you guys, please get more opinions on your health if you realize that you eating caloric deficit isn't helping, or if you're feeling like, man, I'm super low energy for like an extended period of time, or like I don't have regular bowel movements, like I'm not, you know, going every day. And making those observations, because I feel like I took that shit literally. I took it for granted. Like I took it for granted. I just, you know, I thought it was a part of living and being, but your metabolism is so important, and we don't always know that. Like I mean, I know for a fact I didn't. I don't know how you guys feel down below, especially when you're younger. And also when you are younger and you bring up concerns to your doctors, a lot of times they'll just shrug you off. All that to say also is like, just get second opinions and be kind to yourself and don't anticipate the worst, because I am feeling so much better. I am literally thriving when it comes to my physical health. I feel so great. And then I wish I kind of knew this when I was powerlifting, because I feel like because powerlifting puts so much stress on your body, and again, I am not a medical professional. You guys have to look into your own health and stuff, but I think that stopping the really heavy lifting so abruptly the way I did because of the pandemic, I think it threw my body off, and I think my body was used to a certain level of cortisol in it, and then it didn't have it like that, and then it did again because of my anxiety, and I feel like all that really threw me off. But as I was saying, when I was powerlifting, I feel like had I incorporated taking care of my blood sugar and also having more moderation as far as like having more rest days and like really taking care of myself, I would have been real poppin'. Because yeah, and now that I look at myself, before, this is just strictly on an aesthetic perspective, I did still hold some weight in my midsection, even though I was working out so much, and I think it had to do with the cortisol stress levels. So yeah, I hope that this video was somewhat informative for you guys, or just it'll help you come to certain conclusions or help you look for the answers that you need and help. Like literally, I want to help somebody because I felt so alone. This is my second video back. Comment down below if you've struggled with these things. I don't want nobody to feel alone or ashamed or shy, or you know what I mean? Like, this is something that is real life and something that a lot of people, and women specifically, I feel like are coming to terms with. Also, I want to add, and this is towards the end, and I'm like, damn, I should have said it sooner. However, processing trauma and processing your emotions and resolving that trauma and like overcoming that stuff is probably another reason why I've lost the weight, because I feel like I was holding so many emotions inside of my body that were also contributing to my physical health. And I wholeheartedly believe that, and my integrative medicine doctor also believed that, right? And so yes, meditation, maybe even a little bit of yoga, a little bit of stretching, prioritizing yourself, and just figuring out what is going on with you so that you could have the best quality of life. Let's get it on and poppin', okay? But anyway, if you guys like this video, comment down below and give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys the next time.